Diversity of living things. All living things have been classified in biology. That means they have been grouped. Taxonomy is a branch of biology concerned with classification of living things. Taxonomist is a biologist who classifies living things. Seven major ranks into which taxonomists classify living things are kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, and species. There are five kingdoms in biology. These are the kingdom Prokaryote. These include the bacteria. Kingdom Protoctista. These are the prototists. Kingdom Fungi. Kingdom Plantae. And Kingdom Animalia. As the name suggests, Kingdom Animalia is where we belong. This is why people say human beings are animals, because together with all the animals, we all are classified under the kingdom Animalia. Kingdom Protoctista. Kingdom Protoctista is made up of the prototists, and the prototists are usually unicellular. Prototists who have animal-like structures are called protozoa, and prototists who have plant-like behavior are called algae. Some prototists, like the euglenoids, to be specific, that's the prototists under the phylum Euglenophyta, behave like both plants and animals. They have features of plants and features of animals. The first phylum under kingdom Protoctista is the Phylum Rhizopoda. Example of organism under the Phylum Rhizopoda is the amoeba, Polystoma. Rhizopods, also called the amoebas, usually unicellular, and they use pseudopodia for movement and to feed. This is an example of the amoeba feeding with the help of the pseudopodia. Sorry about that. Amoeba sees food. The amoeba extends its pseudopodia, singular is called pseudopodium, to engulf around the food. Then it creates a contractile vacuum and digestion takes place. This is how the polystomela looks like. Not this big. As you can see, the dimension down there, it is just 100 micrometers. That will be, I think, a thousandth of a meter. That's 100 divided by 1 million meters. So that's 10,000th of a meter. So the kingdom Protoctista has Phylum Rhizopoda, which is made up of amoeba, and their locomotory structure is the pseudopodia. Next, we have under this kingdom Phylum Sumastigina. They are called the flagellates. As the name suggests, they have flagellum or flagella for locomotion. Singular flagellum, plural flagella, long whip-like structures. Have you ever heard of sleeping sickness transmitted by the vector fly? The fly carries the parasite trypanosoma. This trypanosoma parasite is an example of an organism under the phylum Sumastigina. Phylum, this is how the This is the Trypanosoma brucei. As you can see at the left hand side beginning has a free flagellum. Okay, that didn't go so well. Sorry about that. Phylum Apicomplexa is another phylum under the kingdom Protoctista. They are called the sporozoans. Example of this is the Plasmodium, which causes malaria. Now, the main characteristic of organisms under this phylum is they have no locomotory structures. Unlike the flagellates and the rhizopods, they have no locomotory structure, so they live in the cell of the organisms that they are causing harm to. Parasites feed and as a result cause harm to the host organism they are feeding on. So they live in the cells or body fluids of other organisms. Next, we have phylum Ciliophora, called the Ciliate. An example is the Paramecium. They have cilia for locomotion, that's moving from place to place. Sorry. And they also have two nuclei. As you can see, the Paramecium has a macro nucleus, that's a big nucleus, and a micro nucleus, that's a big, smaller nucleus. Phylum Iclinophyta, they also have flagella. Sorry. They have flagella, that's singular flagellum. And they have both plant-like and animal-like characteristics. Example is the Euglena. Animal-like characteristic of the Euglena is that it has flagellum for locomotion. Pellicles in place of cellulose cell walls surrounding their bodies. And they also have contractile vacuoles for osmoregulation. There is also a gullet present. Gullet is an esophagus. As you know, only animals have esophagus. Plants do not have esophagus. The plant-like characteristic of the Iclinophyta, or the Euglena to be specific, is the presence of chloroplast, and inside the chloroplast are chlorophyll, which is used for photosynthesis. Paramylum granules and pyrenoids in which starch is stored. This is also found in most plant cells, not in animal cells. So this is what makes the Euglena or the organisms under the phylum Euglenophyta special. They have both characteristics of plant cells and animal cells. So they cannot be classified under Protozoa, which are prototists that exhibit animal characteristics, or Algae, which are prototists that exhibit plant characteristics. Phylum Umycota or Umycetes. Example is the Phytophthora, which causes blight of potato and rotting of cocoa pods. And the special thing about it is that they have a non-septate hypha. Now the hypha is like the branches in the vegetative body usually of fungi. But usually fungi have theirs septate. Septate means it's separated. As you can see, the illustration on the left has the minor divisions, and the illustration on the right, which is the non-septate hypha, has no division. So the Umycota has the non-septate hypha. This is how they look like under the microscope. And they cause the blight in potato. So this is the harm they can cause to the plants. Next, we move to Phylum Chlorophyta, also known as green algae. Example of organisms is the Spirogyra. They are usually unicellular, colonial or filamentous. They have no roots, no stems or leaves. If they had, they would have been another kingdom plantae. But because of this, they are considered as prototists and they show animal and plant-like characteristics, so they are green algae or under the phylum Chlorophyta. This is how the sparagira cells look like. Phylum Rhizopoda, red algae. Example is the plumeria, usually marine, found in sea, but they have a few freshwater species. They are red in color, unlike the phylum Chlorophyta, who are usually green because of their green pigment called chlorophyll. The red pigment that gives them their red color under the phylum Rhodophyta is called phycoerythrin. Phylum Phyophyta are known as the brown algae. Usually include seed weeds. They have brown pigment called phocoxanthin. Okay. I move to the kingdom fungi. The kingdom fungi lacks chlorophyll, roots, stems, and leaves. There are three phylum under the kingdom fungi. Phylum Zygomycota, which are usually the bread molds. What happens to your bread if you leave your bread overnight? Phylum Ascomycota, usually they are the yeast. Yeast are considered as fungi. And phylum Basidiomycota, they are the fungi, the mushrooms. Mushrooms are under the kingdom fungi. In our next video, we will take a detailed review on the other kingdoms, especially the kingdom Animalia.